Is this thing on? Boys, girls, everything else, welcome. Just a quick apology. If my voice sounds weird and battered, unfortunately it's because it is. I do feel like I've been hit by a bus. But, not to get this video demonetized 10 seconds in, but I just shoved my fingers down my throat and I've got rid of all crap, so now I feel a little bit better. But yeah, anyway, we're going to talk about, obviously, Barnsley yesterday. I'm taking a leaf out of Jimmy's book here, Blades Ramble, because he always goes have stuff regardless. And I feel like I need to do this anyway. Obviously, I do Barnsley-related lives every week, but trying to fit them in because I'm in the process of buying a house is difficult. So if Sunday mornings are a thing that people enjoy and it does well, then it might be a consistent thing. Who knows? But we need sport. We need to talk about the Wycombe game. Obviously, yesterday we were 2-0 up, and then in 88th minute we ended up completely shitting as jocks and dropping 2 points. So in space of like one international break, so we went into first international break in such good form. I can't remember exactly when cut-off were because we're going to have had both games cancelled, haven't we? We had the Stevenage one cancelled, which we were quite fortunate, really. We are good there. And then we've had the Cardiff game on Saturday cancelled and all. Now, we went into first international break on such good form. In first so many games, we sat there like a win off top, effectively. And that's we beating Plymouth, beating Huddersfield, getting a point off Bolton when we had 10 men for a full half, effectively. And then suddenly, in space for a couple of weeks, I guess it's only early doors, isn't it? But in space for a couple of weeks, we've gone from such a high of beating some really good teams in this league and what will be some top sides and getting 7 points out of 3 really good sides by the time that May comes round. We're going to be looking at 3 top 10 teams at least there. And then you get Blackpool away, who are in bottom 4. Port Vale at home, who are a newly promoted side, despite the fact they're an half-decent side. And then Wycombe away, who are like bottom 6 and look crap. And we get 1 point out of them 3 games. And then you sat there thinking, have we had a good start, or is it just bog standard now? We're only 10 games in, so unless you win effectively every game, you're not going to be up there anyway. But it's just so demoralising after such a good start that it almost feels like, well, what point? Like, what point in that? What point in having such a good start to then come and drop the last 5 minutes at game like this? I do think on the whole, I would have probably taken a point before the game started, which is probably the worst thing. I don't think Wycombe were a good team particularly. They really put it on us in the last 5 minutes. But like Urian said in his press conference after the game, it weren't like, when we come out in second half and we go 2-0 up, they didn't have even 5-10 minutes of sustained pressure once until right at the very, very end. That's the only time that they really put it on us. We didn't play particularly well at all. We had certain standouts, which is some of the only positives that you can take from this. But how we've lost that, well, it feels like we've lost. It does feel like we've lost. But how we've not come away with a win there is mental. And especially when league's such a poor standard anyway. Like, you look at Stevenage, who's been probably best side by some distance so far, and it's Stevenage. So no disrespect to them, you just expect at some point that they could probably fall away from it. But like Cardiff, they considered 3 goals at home. There's obvious cracks there. Bolton are really starting to put something on. Huddersfield lost. You've got a lot of your better sides that still aren't doing out. Luton lost again. Like, it's just... it's so demoralising the manner of which we are dropping points. But at the same time, I do think there are some things that we can look at and think, okay, there's actually some positives here to take from this. Like, you know what? We'll stay on the negatives for now because there are a lot of them, and I don't want to speak about the negative side of things for 4 minutes and just pretend that everything's sunshine and rainbows. You know what I mean? We have got to address some of the glaringly obvious things that are wrong. And I don't know if anybody listened to Radio Sheffield interview that Ura ended after the game, but he said like the last 10 seconds of it were very interesting, and I'm upset, the interview didn't really push him on that. I don't know if it was Oxley, maybe one of journalists from South Yorkshire Radio. But Urian, in the last 10 seconds, they were like, I can't believe we've lost. Well, again, I'm saying that we've lost. I can't believe we've not won for a start. And then it goes in to say something like, is it something that I don't really want to admit or say? And I wish that he would have gone into that further. But he is clearly addressing one or two things. Either he's pissed off at Boyd because they're not spending brass that he needs to be able to compete with teams like Huddersfield. And, well, not even that, just bringing a serious quality of player or give him at least some options to choose from in certain areas at pitch. Like, we've got so little striker options to the point where you've got to bring somebody like Farrugia on. So it's either that the lack of backing that he's been given, or he's actually realising, wow, some of these players are actually shit. Like, and there's not a lot that I can actually do. Urian's played at such a fantastic level for a lot of his career, but he's come all the way through. He's played in every division. He started in League 2 with Plymouth. He went with League 1 with Barnsley, got promoted into Championship with Barnsley, went to Villa, been promoted to Prem, played in Prem. He's seen so many different levels of footballers. And he probably thinks, like, yeah, I can maybe get something out of these guys. We are one of the better, bigger sides in this league. Surely we can get something out of these players in what is a poor division. But I genuinely think he's sat there now and thinking, some of these lads are actually just wank and they're not savable. I really do think he's sort of coming to that conclusion now. And some of them subs that we brought on, I don't want to go into it too negatively. It's got to be addressed, obviously, but I don't want to pick certain players out. But some of them lads are absolutely fucking crap, for lack of a better word. Pardon my Francais. Some of these lads are shit. Shit. Absolutely shit. It's just... we'll know what we're talking about anyway. But like, it's just so demoralising. As soon as we make one sub, start starting 11. And you know what? I'm going to go and get the bench up from this game. Give me a sec, because... name-wise, you look at it and think, okay, the bench is sort of coming along now. Obviously, we've still got Gent injured, we've got Jallo injured, we've got Roberts injured. So that's 3 players that would arguably all start anyway. But then when you look at the bench and you think, well, we've got Flavit Net, who's not going to play anyway, but he's a young one from Tarn. It looks promising anyway. But apart from that, going defence to attack, you've got Jake Rooney, who we've seen nothing on. Dejavigne, who's shit. And then you're looking at like, well, Kelly's good. Kelly's a kid and he brings some energy, Kelly. Do you know what I mean? He does bring something when he comes off bench. And he's obviously got a long career here. But Russell comes on and he looks like his eye. He literally looks like he's stoned when he walks on pitch. I've never seen someone, I'm going into it, I don't care. I've never seen someone who comes onto a pitch, right, and does the Sunday League jog. You know when you're trying to look busy at Sunday League and you're like, let's do one of these. Like, I look like I'm moving, but I'm not actually going anywhere. Like, you look like you're making a bit of an effort, but you're not. He did that coming, walking up a line. He starts doing that. Oh, I don't know. I think he touched ball 3 times. He's just so slack, offers nothing. He offers no presence. Don't touch ball. And Ferrugia, I can't anymore. This has got to be what Urian's on about. Ferrugia, it is literally like subbing on a traffic cone. You are taking a physical being off. Even if someone's absolutely knackered, right? Absolutely battered, I would still rather... I would rather have an injured McGoldrick on pitch than Ferrugia. I'm sorry. It's got to be said. Because it is literally like plopping a cone in middle of pitch and saying, go on, do something. It touches ball maybe twice, just gets walked past. It looks knackered as soon as he comes on pitch. Some of these fellas just are not offering anything. And I think Urian is getting to that point now where he's thinking the same thing. Because, my God... some of them are just, it's just not savable. Max, thank you for the 2. Congrats on the house, Kiss. Thank you very much. Not actually got it yet. Hopefully, we're waiting on a mining search. Just stereotypical Barnsley. But I'll tell you what, if they don't allow us to have that and we have to go with a different lender, surely there would be no houses in Barnsley if we were going to disallow people from getting one because of an old mine. The entire place is an old pit. So, surely to God, that can't be reason if whatever's happening. But we'll find out tomorrow. But thank you, Max. Kiss. Love you very much. Right. Good morning, boys. Just reading everybody's comments a minute. But yeah, the starts, it ends up looking very even. But majority of their shots comes in the last 5 minutes anyway. And I'm going to get the first thing up, right? I'm going to get the first thing up. Let's talk about some positives, which are very limited anyway. Defensively, we're atrocious. That has not changed... since Duff's season, when we sold as full back 3 and as keeper and brought a full new one in, and every single one has been shit. But the one standout to me from a defensive side of things in middle, because Watson looks very good. Watson does look very good. I really like him at right back. He just does simple things really effectively all the time. I really like him. But Shepherd is by far our best centre-back, by an absolute mile. I do think he could have done marginally better for first goal, but when you stood next to a clown, what else can you truly do? Like, I think Shepherd could hack it if we do go up. I really do. I think he's one of the only ones, really from a defensive point of view, that stands out in a positive light ever. I feel like I'd never say this about any other ones. I only end up saying it about Shepherd occasionally. And I do think he is a good centre-back. And to say that our best defender by an absolute mile come from Pontefract Collieries for about 15 grand is absolutely ridiculous and just shows the level of recruitment that we have been operating under for the last few windows, which is ultimately why Mladen's been sacked. Because you look at the players that we've brought in, obviously this summer, we've been very ruthless in outgoings, but that's not a good thing. That's just taking out all shit from previous seasons before that anyway, previous transfer windows. We've got rid of all players that we've brought in since we've come down anyway, because a lot of them are crap. So a lot of the outgoings I'm happy with, but this is the first one. But bearing in mind, we've not spent a penny in 2 full transfer windows. 2 full transfer windows, January and summer. We've not spent 1 dime. So to have always paid compensation. Bloody hell, we're moving like Burton. Like, we've brought in Kelly and Cleary, who look really good. The young lads, he's very Barnsley. They're on long contracts. Fantastic. McGoldrick offers something really good. But the lack of obvious positions that we needed up front and at centre-back is ultimately why Mladen's been sacked, and because he's shit at his job. Now, if Urian gets reins of it, there were no mention of him looking for another sporting director, which I'm glad. I'm truly glad. I want Urian to do everything, because a lot of the trust that I have in anybody above surface level at club, it is all Urian. I trust not one person on that board, not one of them. I don't even trust Chuffing Flatbread, CEO. I didn't trust Mladen. I trust Urian to bring it players that he wants. He was largely the reason why Kelly come. It was the full reason why McGoldrick come. The better players that we are bringing in are because of Urian, and he's been here 10 seconds. The standards have changed because of Urian's, and he's been here 10 seconds. There is a clear plan and a clear shift, regardless of the fact the results aren't going his way, and some players are just helpless. That is not something that Urian can control, really. But I see a long-term vision and future with Urian that I have not seen before he's coming. A definite shift in play style, performances for the most part, because you've got to think how shit we were last season and season before. Like, we've been onking shit for ages. The football has not been good since, I want to say, Struber. We have not been good since Ismail almost. We have not been good once. Duff's football weren't good. We just had a very good team. You look at that defence that Duff had. I will go on a whim here and say if you get Conor Urian, the defence of Liam Kitchen, Bobby Thomas and Mads Anderson, we would win this league comfortably. If you had competent defenders, we'd piss this league easily. It's been a problem for year on end since the Duff season, but I think from a defensive point of view, Shepherd is the only one that I look at and would not want to change. I really do. We obviously need a centre-back to come next to him, and I do feel like we've been lucky as well. I want to say this. I think we've been lucky that we've got enough players that can constitute getting us games called off in international breaks. We've got enough lads that are going to be called up for Jamaica and Northern Ireland and all the Wales and all these, that we can have as games against Stevenage and Cardiff called off, because we are absolutely screaming for Mark Roberts to not be injured anymore. Which, you know what, at the start of this season, if you'd have said that sentence to me, I'd have slapped you. That we are screaming for Mark Roberts, but he is undoubtedly going to be starting next to Shepherd when he's fit. Undoubtedly. We need to limp to Jan almost to get a centre-back and a striker in. But I still believe that we have got something. I really do. I don't think we're too far off. And a lot of his injuries are nearly coming to end of being fit now. I think Gent and Roberts aren't actually a million miles off. Jello's slightly longer, but they'll all be back by November. I think Gent and Roberts are going to be back in the next couple of weeks. So we should be okay at that point. But I do really rate Shepherd, me. And I think if you actually put him next to a competent footballer, it would show what he's about. Now, the biggest and best thing about yesterday by a mile was this fella. The best thing by an absolute mile, Ray's Cleary. Urian, he said afterwards that McGoldrick's got a slight knock, which is why he didn't come on, or he didn't say about him not starting, but that's why he didn't come on. Now, why he's actually on bench anyway shows the levels that we're truly at, because we've got an injured striker on bench because the squad depth is that shit. His squad is that small. And Urian wants a small squad anyway, but with some of the players that we've got kicking about this team, if he's as ruthless as he thinks he is, and has been, and has shown, then the squad's going to get a hell of a lot smaller in January, I'll tell you that. But Cleary, when he's been given his chances, in cups, obviously against Notts County, we're lost and we were crap. but he was best player. Against Fleetwood in first round at Cup, he was best player. Against Rotherham in Cup, I'd argue he was probably best player. He's been given before this 70 minutes across league in full season. You're never going to really show what you can do in 70 minutes. And give him his start yesterday. He took his chance. He was best player. The goal, he took well from his press. He made second goal out of nothing as well, chasing down a dead ball, just sat defender on his ass and created a really good chance for Bland, who got unlucky, to be fair, before his second goal. Cleary is showing something that a lot of players in his team just don't show, which is the one to run at a man. And it's just not what we've not got anything like that on pitch. As good as the players are that we've actually got, none of them actually want to run at a boy, and Cleary does. And I think this maybe strikes a conversation about Ogbeta once Gent's fit as well. Obviously, with the old system, if McGoldrick was starting up left and he comes in, then you want a left back to offer you width, which Ogbeta does. If we're going to go for a more defensive-minded one, I think there's a conversation about Gent, so maybe that's a fate to happen once Gent's back from injury. But Cleary undoubtedly starts now. Undoubtedly. He's been given his chance. He's taken his chance. He scored. He created another goal. He's a very, very good winger. And at 21 or whatever he is, on a 4-year contract, we've got to start playing this fella because he's really good. But again, one of the only shining lights, really, in what were a very bleak and shit day again. Now, let me get on this shit. Before I start going into comments and seeing what people are saying, let me just talk about this team. Because even this isn't what we look like in game. It was very odd yesterday. It was more like a... Well, on ball, we're a free at back, aren't we? We are a free at back. It goes to Watson, Shepherd, Earl. And then we're like a box yesterday. Vickers were really central. You've got Connell and Bland doing a lot of defensive side at midfield. Phillips operates out wide anyway a lot of time. Ogbeta ends up pushing slightly further. We're all over the place. We're very fluid. But just for like argument's sake, so it's easy to view, if this is the team that we play now, and then you've got like McGoldrick coming off bench and Kelly, and for the most part, that's almost it. For what I'd actually trust to come off bench anymore. But I think we've got to look at it. And being completely harsh, once we get to January, if we are serious at all, and I know we've got some money, but if we are serious at all, and you've got to be ruthless and think, what is going to get us promoted out of this team? The first immediate thing that you do is this. You get rid of that centre-back that stood next to Jack Shepherd, and you get a serious one in, because I'm not dealing with that anymore. I have thought for a long time that, oh, I know it says not counter-predicted lineup, whatever, I ain't changed it. Forgive me. Bloody hell. I've thought for a long time that maybe Early's offering something. That I could see a player in there. And sometimes I can. I think on ball, he's absolutely useless. He's such a shit footballer. But in terms of a defender for League One, I don't think he's that crap sometimes. But recently, I'm just losing hope. So we've got to be serious. I think there's a defender that is definitely needed. I think there's a conversation to be had whether Gent or Ogbeta start at left back. And that is almost it for a starter. That's almost it. I don't think we actually need to bring a left back in that's going to start. But we undoubtedly need to put Shepherd there for a start. Put him on his actual left-footed side. But we can't because we've got Earl at left back who doesn't offer anything anyway. Put Shepherd on his actual strong foot. Get a right-footed centre-back in. And we immediately look so much better. So much better. I wouldn't be shitting myself at 2-0 up with 5 minutes left if we had a proper centre-back stuck next to Shepherd. But we need a striker desperately. Desperately. The fact that we have got an injured McGoldrick at 37 sat on bench as our only striker option is mental. It's absolutely mental. What happens when Jallo comes back? I think he'd have to... Well, he's going to be a bench player straight away, and he's not going to start, that's for sure. I think Orian's been quite clear on... he didn't want to rush him back. He's been injured a few times for a young lad. So I don't want to rush him back. And I think he'd have to offer a lot anyway to get in other Vickers or Cleary. Obviously, it was more like that anyway, weren't it? Like weekend with Phillips and Vickers. Like Phillips, who you'd normally assume to be a 10. I don't think we're getting best out of him shoving him out wide as much as we are either. I would like to just go back to putting players in the right positions. Vickers very rarely loses ball, which is maybe what Urian's thinking is there. Toast, I've seen you. We're still going up, bro. Just let us limp to January. I just think once we get to Jan, if we bring in a centre-back and we can sort the argument for left-back out once Jed's fit, we are a centre-back and a striker away from being very good. I stand by that. I absolutely stand by that. If you look at the rest of them players there, you are looking at a top side. You really are. I'm not bothered with it. You can argue with my Marge, mate. If you look at that 11 or that 9 right there, that is a top side. We're just missing key components, really. And I don't even think left back's one of them, because I've only removed Ogbeta because there's a conversation to be had. Whereas a lot of the other ones, I just think pick themselves. Right, let me look through some of these comments, because some of you are being weird. Right. I do remember that we are getting auto stream. Right. If we are still in and around top 6, if we are in the top 6, say, in January, we will go up. We will. Because there is a clear plan. I think it's so obvious that we're just a striker away and a centre-back away from being a proper top side. Especially when, I saw a stat, right? It's called Barnsley FC Stats on Twitter. Barnsley FC Stats. It's a very good page. I don't know how he found his stuff. I really don't. But it's a very, very good page. And he put something out yesterday, the fellow who runs that page, and it were the previous record for this stat was 3. And the question was, the stat was the amount of games consecutively that Barnsley have conceded in the last 5 minutes. And previously it was 3, and it was years ago. We are now into our 5th game running where we have conceded a goal in the last 5 minutes. If that does not scream lack of depth, I don't know what does. And it's a lack of quality in depth as well. Because if you're bringing on Ferrugia and Russell, you are bringing on traffic cones. You might as well bring me on, and I've got one leg. What is the point in bringing someone like that on that's going to offer absolutely nothing? Kelly is a good sub because he's got legs. He offers a bit of energy. He doesn't just waltz about offering fucking niche. And McGoldrick's a good sub. Other than that, I am really struggling to see the depth that anybody offers. Me. I really am. So shut up, Toast. But this has been a problem for years. It was a problem last season. I remember doing a video on the difference between Barnsley and Wrexham, right? Because up until 70th minute, I believe it were, last season, Barnsley and Wrexham were 2nd and 3rd in division. Bearing in mind, last season was our worst finish since admin year in early 2000s. It was our worst finish since we were put in administration. And we, up until 70th minute, were in 2nd place. After 70th minute, this is Barnsley and this is Wrexham. They went like this, above us, and we went all the way down here. Because the strength in depth is non-existent for us, and it is very clearly there with a lot of the other sides. I don't think it's about bad game management. I think the level of player is just horrendous outside of probably 13, 14 lads that we've got. It's all right having a small squad like Urian wants, but we're going for probably one of the smallest ever in terms of usable players anymore. I agree, Mr. Reds. I agree. I would like to see Gent in this system if we are going to play Cleary. Obviously, if we're starting McGoldrick out wide, Gent would make no sense because he's not going to get up and down as much as Ogbeta is. But I think defensively, Gent's better. And to be fair, I think if Gent could actually cross a ball, he'd be a top championship standard left back. But that's a conversation to be had once he's actually fit and they can both have a go at it properly. But yeah, I agree with that. No idea how you kept all the DKD and Phillips, to be fair. I think they're what's carrying you at the moment. See, even that's an odd conversation to have. Because you look at Big Three in Dunn, Phillips and Connell. And Connell has been good so far this season, but he was poor yesterday. Phillips got assist for goal and he took it, well, he laid Dunn off well, to be fair. But I feel like Phillips, we're not getting the best out of Phillips out wide, where we're pushing him a lot of time. Because he was central yesterday when he got assist for goal. So I think if you actually put players in the proper positions, then it'd help. And I want to see Phillips centrally. Because if we're playing against a low block, you need somebody who can hit it from edge of box. And Phillips obviously can, but will, is the difference. We've got a lot of players that can hit it from edge of box that don't. Like if it comes to Vickers on edge of box, he's going to pass it sideways. Phillips will hit it. And I think we need to utilise that a bit more. We've got very talented players for this division that can score from edge of box. Use them. But I don't even think we're getting the best out of Dunn. And I don't think it's been his best year at all so far. But he's top goal scorer in the league. That's the level that we're talking about with some of the players that we've got. It's just we're shoehorning some absolute bottom feeders in with them. Like, the centre-back stood next to Shepherd. None of them are good enough, really. You're looking at top standard League One, if not Championship standard footballers in this team, surrounded by the odd League Two player, and you're bringing in non-league standard footballers. That's what's killing us. Referencing the Wrexham thing again, we were in line with an automatic promotion side last season, And once it got to bring its subs on, we absolutely capitulated. But then if we go to January now and we bring in a striker for depth and a centre-back that can start, you are immediately getting to that same position again where we're dominating a lot of games up until it comes to bringing subs on. If the level of sub is not bottom at barrel and they can sort of match what's on pitch at that time, we will start turning a lot of these losses and a lot of the draws into wins more consistently. And I just think that's all we are away from getting promoted, mate. I just think we're slightly lacking. Well, not slightly. I just think we're massively lacking in the sub department and the depth. Personally, fully don't know. Where can I use code Callum to get 8% off some top quality replica shirts? That's so true, brother. It's at okjersey.com. The link is at the top of the description. Thank you very much to them for sponsoring the channel, and thank you to you, Dylan, for reminding me. Oh, that's actually true. Scott saw me there. Mason Burstow is now on 7, and he's top. Burstow's on 7, I think Dunn's on 6, and there's a lot of lads on 5, because Burstow got 2 yesterday. And you know what? That's a good point, bringing me onto that, Scott. The difference in depth between Bolton and Barnsley is absolutely massive. Absolutely massive. I think the starting 11s are very similar, and I would arguably say that ours is better than Bolton's starting 11. But they dominate games from minute 1 to minute 90. They don't dominate from minute 1 to 70 when subs come on. They go all the way through. That again is the difference. And we could be sat here in May saying the same thing, and if we are, I'm going to be fuming. But if I am comparing Barnsley and Bolton as a side that's got promoted and one that hasn't because it's squad depth, and our game goes after 70th minute, I'm going to lose my rag. I'm absolutely going to lose my rag. Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. McAtee do a job for us this season. I agree. I'm glad that we didn't go ahead with the deal that Bolton proposed to us, because if it were an obligation to buy, what is the point in buying McAtee when he's not going to be good enough for Championship, and we'd have to buy him in summer? And we are tight as owners are anyway. They won't spend any. They buy McAtee and think jobs are good and stay up, lads, and you'd have no chance. Do you know what I mean? I just think McAtee, if he's not getting its squad for Bolton, and same with Humphries as well, it would not surprise me. I want you to write the date down, 5th of October. Wouldn't surprise me if we're sat in January and there's talks for Humphries coming back on loan. Do not be surprised, baby. Do not be surprised. I think there's an option for that. I think McAtee is an obvious one that could happen. But Bolton have got to roll to the stance. But also in January, if us and Bolton are in the same sort of position, they're not going to loan him to us either, because we're both going for the same thing. So they'd be stupid to do that. But yeah, we are obviously a striker away, depth-wise, from competing across a full season, I think, and competing across a full 90. But it's not even one that's going to start, so we've got to go about it really smart. Whether it is a loan, you're like, obviously, Bolton starting strikers on loan from Hull. So maybe we need a striker on loan from a top side, maybe a young kid. Or maybe we could have just gone and bought, I don't know, Don Ballard for 150 grand from Southampton, who scored an absolute screamer for Southampton yesterday. Why don't we do that? Do you know what I mean? We're haggling over chuffing £5,000 for a striker that's gone to Leyton Orient instead of us. Is that really where we're at? That we're going to haggle over pittance in terms of football for someone that could have scored a goal yesterday that would have won a game coming off bench instead of Ferrugia? It's night and day, man. It's absolute night and day. Oh, God. Honestly. Adam, Umps ain't good enough for us. Is not getting near the first team for us now. I don't... Maybe not starting because of Cleary and Vickers. But then, again, if you're looking at the depth even at wingers, and you think, well, we need somebody who could come on up front or go on out wide. Obviously, I've always maintained that Humphries is a winger, which he is. And if you don't use him as a winger, you're not utilising him properly. But even if he were brought on up front and had to face backwards for the entire time that he were brought onto the pitch, he would offer more than what Ferrugia does. So anything's better than naught, innit? You know what I mean? And I think we'd need an option off bench on wing anyway, because if we're starting Vickers and Cleary, our first sub out wide is Ferrugia, and he's crap. And that's until Jallo comes back, which is probably another month away. And McGoldrick can be injured potentially because he's 37. You've got to alter everything, I think, if McGoldrick comes on out wide anyway. So we probably need a winger as well. But in terms of players that's going to get consistent minutes, a centre-back we need to come in and start, and we need a striker that can potentially be brought on off bench. But I won't mind bringing Humphries back at all, because he kills two birds with one stone. He's not going to start anyway. Nobody's going to start up front of a Dunn. We cannot physically bring someone in up front that is better than Davis Keeler Dunn. It's worth £5 million for a reason. We are going to spend 5 pence max. So that's where we're at. You know what I mean? Lewis says not having the English washing over Bland. He probably is English though, and he's probably like his great nan or something that's Welsh. But I just don't think, you know what I mean? It just don't know yet system. You know what I mean? I wish he were English. He's such a good player, man. He is such a good player. Barnsley should have tried signing Nathan Lowe from Stoke. I agree with what you're saying, but the only problem is Stoke aren't going to loan him to us when they know he's not going to start. You know what I mean? Obviously, there were a conversation whether he could start for Stockport, and I feel like that's something. We're in a very strange position because any striker that we do bring in isn't going to start, regardless, unless Dunn gets injured. Touch wood, Jesus Christ, don't do this to us. But unless Dunn gets injured, no one starts up front of a Dunn because he's his best player. He's got 6 goals. Do you know what I mean? He's going to finish on 20 probably. You don't bench somebody that's going to get that many goals for you. Oh, man. What do you think of McGoldrick? I think he's as good as people say, or past point. I do think he is as good as people sort of have this perception of him. I just think we've got to use him properly. Which, again, I don't blame Urian for, because he's squeezing every last ounce out of McGoldrick because we've got nothing else that can play. That's what it is. We have nothing else that can play in them positions apart from Dunn and McGoldrick. And when it's not Dunn or McGoldrick, and you look what comes on instead, it's me. So what is the point? You might as well just try and rinse an 100-year-old McGoldrick for everything he's got if your next best option is a bricklayer. Pointless. It's pointless. I don't know anymore. Like, honestly, I don't know. All our loans worry me. This is on about Bolton. Can't see Burston getting recalled with like some at Burnley up front, but can see a club like Luton not big spenders in division if he keeps up the form buying him. Maybe, but you can't play underdog with Bolton, mate. With brash you spend, like surely you'll just be exact same boat. If Luton come in and they say, well, we want £1.5 million, Bolton will just match it because your owners at least, if put in a position like that, they would take the right choice and not just do what we do. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I really don't know. Lacking a plan B, opinions of Rooney. We've not seen Rooney yet to have a proper opinion. And he's only played against Brighton, which, like, anybody would do shit against Brighton. I don't know. I don't know whether I'd risk it anymore. I feel like my stance, it's ridiculous, but, like, do you even drop Earl? Do you even drop Earl? Even though he's shit, do you drop Josh Earl until Roberts comes back? Because it's like, yeah, you're putting Rooney in, but then that's just an unknown whether he's good or not. We know Dijavigne is crap. So it's like, you choose it lesser of two evils here. You go for a complete unknown, or you just stick with Josh Earl and hope he don't, like, put ball into his own net until Roberts comes back. Once Roberts back, he is 1,000,000% starting. 100% until we get to Jan. I just think we're in a position now, and we've got to accept that position that we're in. We're out at Cup, which obviously we weren't going to go that far in it anyway. We got to 3rd round, got a decent bit of brass out at Brighton thing. Happy days. We're out at Cup. I hope we go out at chuffing Papa John's, whatever it's called. I want to go out of that. And we lost first game, so we're on way to doing that anyway. And then we're going to have a backlog of fixtures because we're getting games called off every international break. We need to just try and limp into January. If we are top 6 in Jan with this squad depth, I will, genuinely, I'll be so happy. Even if we're 6th when we scrape in there, I'll be very happy. Because then it's completely up to this board whether they want to own a football club or not. Because if they get there, don't bring a striker in, don't bring a centre-back in. I'm telling you now, attendance next season, it'll be 7,000 max. It is going to get to the lowest it's probably ever been if they do not back him in January. There's no excuse. We've not spent a penny in January. We've not spent a penny apart from paying compensation off in summer. We have got to spend some money in January, or there is no future at all. No fan will sit there and think we will ever get out of this division if we do not spend a penny in January. There is clearly something there with Urian. We've got some of the best players in this division that it has to offer. We are a starting centre-back away from, I would argue, being the best side in this division in terms of up to 70th minute. Apart from Bolton, maybe. I don't think anybody truly dominates as many games as what we do up until bringing subs on. But we need depth. Quality depth. We need a striker. And if we don't get it, then I truly just lose hope, mate. I truly lose hope. But yeah. That's where I'm at. And I'll tell you what, we've got to come out of this international break shit hot and all. Absolutely shit hot. Bradford away first game. They might not lose all season to him. Do you know what I mean? That's a very tough game. I just do think against a better side, it probably will suit us. because they're not going to come. They're not just going to sit back and defend at home, are they? They're going to go. They're going to try and beat us. So that'll probably play into our hands a little bit. But we've got some very, very favourable fixtures coming up. Let me go and get them up right now. Some very favourable fixtures. Obviously, Bradford away is not one of them. But we've got Bradford, Rotherham at home, Donny, Northampton. That is 4 games that if we're sat here in 4 games' time, and I'm saying we've got 12 points out of these games, then you're having a completely different conversation again. It's just so odd, because after that Northampton one, then you get into some serious games of Luton, Stockport, Lincoln, Leyton Orient. I don't think that the rest of this year it's that tough anyway. Obviously, we've got Stevenage and Cardiff to be rearranged still, which really are tough games, which stay that them touring. But I don't know when they'll be rescheduled for anyway, probably in and around November, December time. I just think we've got to come out of this international break shit hot, because we can't get left behind. Do you know what I mean? We can't afford to be left behind. We're still in and around this mix by not getting performances in the last few weeks. We've not won in 3 games. We've only took 1 point out of 7. Not only took 1 point out of a possible 9 even. But if we come out of it and beat Bradford in first week, then you're immediately looking at it in a different light again, aren't you? You're just immediately looking at it in a different light. But I'll tell you what, boys. That's it. I don't want to depress everybody. And I just, you know what? Let's just go on to the last thing again, right? Let's get this up. There are some things to be happy about, right? There are some things that we can look at and think, okay, nice. Cleary looks fantastic. Obviously, Didsy's rocking a slight knock, but he'll be fine to come off bench. So you've got a really good bench option there that can come on. Kelly's a really good bench option. We've still got Dunn, Phillips, Connell, Vickers, some really good attacking players. There is a clear plan with Urian. There is a clear long-term vision with Urian. And I think he's very ruthless. So for the long term, I really see it going well for us here. I do really see it going well for Barnsley long term with Urian in charge. Obviously, if we get to January and bring a defender in and a striker in, we're in a much different position. But to say we're not playing, or we're not getting the results really that we should be doing, and that we're in, 8th, I think, as of right now, and a lot of the other sides are in the same sort of positions as us, we're not being left behind at all, despite not getting the results that we need. I think we're in quite a good position, personally. And let me see. Hold on. I know you're not one of these. I know you're actually not, but I've seen people saying this. Let's bow out on this. If you are Urian out, you are an absolute imbecile. You are lost. I don't know. What does anybody expect? What does anybody expect with the starting defenders that we've got? The same people that are Urian out would have been Duff in. Oh my God, look what Duff did. Look at the defence that we have got now compared to the defence that we had under Duff. If you gave Urian them defenders, we'd win this league easily. It is not a comparable situation, what Duff did, to what we have got now. It is not comparable at all. I look at the Duff season as a failure. I don't look at it as, oh, we were close and we should have done this. No, we had a better 11 than Sheff Wednesday did. Yeah, we got unlucky in final, but it could have been managed differently. We shouldn't have started Tedic over Norwood. So there were certain decisions that you could look at in Duff's season and think, well, why the bloody hell would I want Duff back anyway? He's at Wickham now for a reason. He failed at Huddersfield. He failed at Swansea. It were good for us. And if he wouldn't have left, I'd have been happy for him to carry on. But I would not have taken Duff back over Urian at all. No way. Not a chance. I think the football is arguably better under Urian than it were under Duff. And we've got a worse team. And a miles worse defence. Get to January and bring in defenders of a similar quality, like a Kitchen or a Bobby Thomas or a Mads Anderson. Give Urian the same chance that you gave Duff. And you'll sit here thinking, I can't believe I had a conversation about Urian getting sacked. Absolute aliens. If you believe that Urian should be sacked, please never ever interact with me ever again. Right, and I'm not talking to you BFC Reds, by the way, because I know you don't believe it. But boys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Urian in, obviously. Anybody that disagrees, you're an idiot. I will be doing a live for Ipswich versus Norwich in half an hour. So I'll be live at 10 to watch on for that. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Love you all. Kiss. Thank you to the sponsor as always. OK Jersey, links at the top of the description. Thank you to anybody that watches and donates and just does anything. I appreciate you all being here. But yeah, that's that. I'm looking forward to international break and I'm glad we've limped into it. But yeah, we need to come out and some of these players need to really put their ideas up or they'll be playing for Forest Green really quickly. I don't know how there's no urgency, me. I really don't know. How there is no urgency with players at certain stages of their careers in the mid to late 20s that are just trotting by, happy to pick a wage up, You will be playing non-league football if you do not get a grip. Some of these players that we're bringing off bench are absolutely dog shit. The squad level for some of them is terrible. But for the overwhelming part of this team, I'm very happy. A lot of the starters I really like, and I think we've got a top side and a top manager. So, long term, we're getting promoted. But as of right now, thank you for watching, everybody. We have drawn, and 3 games in a row, we aren't getting a win. But thank God for international football, baby. Roland Bradford. My God, I think we'll win. I think we'll go to Bradford and win. And on that note, goodbye. I will see you